Hi everyone, I wanted to come on here today and just share about our new book that's coming out this month. The book is called The Wrong Blade, and the book is actually about self-harm, but it's kind of broken into two parts. And just as the subtitle of the book says, it is Overcoming Self-Harm and Arising as God's Champion. And while writing the book, it kind of fell into these two categories. That one part of it would be really about sharing some of my own testimony in overcoming self-harm, including some quotes and testimonies of others along the way that have also overcome self-harm. And then kind of in the latter part of the book, in the overcoming and in the victory, there was a rising as a champion, rising victorious, getting on the battlefield, coming onto the front line, and where the wrong blade came from originally was God had asked me to write a book on self-harm, and I was searching for the title of the book. And I knew that God had been talking about the armour of God and how he says to put on the armour of God and to take hold of the sword of the Spirit, which is the Word of God. And throughout the entire book, there's a lot on using the Word of God, using the sword of the Spirit, speaking out the truth that cancels out those lies that we believe, and building ourselves up in his Word, in the truth, and being that warrior, rising as that champion, coming onto the battlefield, standing in his army and taking your place as victorious. So I kept thinking about this sword and how God wanted us to have it on us at all times. As he says, put on the armour of God. It's not something that we keep on the side or in a wardrobe or shut away. It's something that we have on us at all times, including that sword in our hand, the Word of God constantly in our hand, feeding on that, building us up and helping us to stand against anything that would come our way, to speak against anything that would come our way, and to stand on that battlefield victorious, bringing others onto the battlefield to join us in his army. And as I was thinking about the sword, and thinking about a season of cutting and hurting and destruction, I realized that it was the wrong blade. What I was using was the wrong blade. And what God wanted me to take hold of was the sword of the Spirit, the Word of God, and to come against anything that would say anything other than what was truth. And I wrote a couple of days ago and posted it on social media about putting down the weapon of harm and picking up the sword of the Spirit, the Word of God. And as one of my friends responded to it, I realised that your fight doesn't have to be self-harm with regards to cutting or wounding or anything like that, but we can self-harm in so many other ways, and our weapon of harm can be even something just as simple as negative mindset. It can be too much alcohol, it can be speaking negatively over ourselves, or even our weapon of harm could be what we do to other people. And God was asking through this book to give him that weapon of harm, release it from our hands, empty our hands of that destructive tool, even if it's discouragement or doubt or bitterness or anger or stuff from our past, fear, stuff that's still lurking there that we just don't feel we can get rid of. He was asking us to give him that weapon of harm, to take hold of that sword, put on that armour of God, and to wield that weapon, to speak out his truth, to speak out his promises, to declare those promises. And as you declare them, it's building you. And that we are then living by the Word of God is that's then feeding us as we take hold of that sword. So there was an exchange in this book. So It's not just a book for people who struggle with self-harm, or parents of kids who may struggle with self-harm, or teachers or pastors or anybody who comes into contact with people that are self-harming, but it's just for people who want to come out of a place of destruction and move into a place of victory, the victory that he's already paid for us to stand in. There's a position on that battlefield for you to stand in, and there's a clarion call that's going out that's saying, come and stand, come and take your place, leave what is hurting you, leave what is destructive, put it down and pick up what he has given you to carry, which is that sword, his word, the word of God, speaking it out of our mouth, chanting it on the battlefield if we need to, speaking it against any giant that would come our way and taking off its head, leaving it on the battlefield and rising up as his champion, as his warrior, standing in his army. So if you want to be empowered, if you want to be inspired, if you want to feast on the word of God, which is throughout the entire book, this book will help. Please reach out to any friends or family that struggle with self-harm. Please get them in contact with me if you would like to, and I would love to speak to them. There's testimonies in the book as well. So The Wrong Blade will be out next week, and it will be on Amazon, and it will be on theloganseries.com as well. So release the blade, take hold of your sword, get onto the battlefield, keep that armour on at all times, and stand as his champion, constantly victorious in him. Take care.